Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something that often gets viewed, well, pretty negatively usually. Casual sex.
Specifically those one-night stands.
Exactly. And, a lot of the research, especially around hookup culture, it tends to focus on regret, maybe bad experiences.
Roughly the downsides. But we found this really interesting study. It's from the International Journal of Drug Policy, and it kind of pushes back on that.
Oh, how so?
It actually looks at the pleasures involved, even when there's drinking, which is often a big red flag in other research.
Okay, pleasures. That's definitely a different angle.
Yeah, and they use this idea called assemblage theory. It sounds complex, but it's basically about how different bits and pieces, people, places, alcohol, even the stories told after, all weave together to create the actual experience.
Okay. So the people, the place, the booze, the story, like ingredients.
Sort of, yeah. They all contribute to how it feels and what it means.
Got it. So for this deep dive, we're going to explore how these encounters were actually maybe valued by the people involved.
Exactly. And how the environment, the place, shapes them.
And how telling the story later on kind of adds to it or changes it.
Precisely. Especially for the young people in this study.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The usual story is regret, maybe feeling used, right? But this study found something else using that assemblage idea.
Totally different, yeah. Well, it wasn't all negative. Far from it, actually. Participants often talked about these experiences as sexual explorations.
Exploration.
Yeah, like chances for self-discovery. One participant, Hedda, she put it really simply, I learned something new every time.
Wow. Okay, so learning, discovering.
And the pleasure wasn't just, the physical act itself. It was also the thrill of it all. The chase, maybe, feeling desired, affirmed, even just physical closeness.
That's much broader than how it's usually framed. And you mentioned places being part of this assemblage. How important were the specific locations?
Hugely important. They call them sexualized territories.
Sexualized territories,
Yeah, like specific spots where the usual rules feel suspended. Think of Rita's story. A chaotic house party, things got wild, her stepfather finds her naked. It's intense.
Oh.
Or Heidi, who had an encounter in a forest during some kind of rural festival. The place itself becomes part of the experience, almost like a temporary free zone.
Right, like the location gives permission somehow, a rite of passage feel.
Exactly. It loosens social norms, makes things possible that wouldn't be elsewhere.
So in these free zones with norms loosened, how did people talk about these experiences? Did they still frame them negatively?
Not necessarily. A lot of them describe these moments as crazy or wild.
Okay, crazy and wild. So there's pleasure in just breaking the rules.
Seems like it. Pleasure in the transgression itself. It's like a timeout from everyday life, from expectations. Stepping outside the lines felt freeing, exciting for many.
Which brings us to the stories, right? You mentioned the narrative environment. What role does telling the story play in all this?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. The study found that a huge chunk of the pleasure actually comes from the storytelling later on.
So it's not just what happened, but the fact that it makes a good story.
You got it. These encounters are great material for storytelling. Even if the experience itself was maybe less than perfect, it can get reframed, told humorously, spun as wild or fun. It builds social cred, shapes your identity in the group.
Like Heidi, right. You said she still enjoyed telling her forest story years later.
A decade later, yeah. And think about Diedrich's story in a bar toilet, and the other bartender actually helped them. Slight laugh. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a story you'd tell.
Right. It highlights how we actively shape our memories when we tell stories. It's not just reporting facts, it's creative. The story becomes this final piece of the assemblage, turning even awkward moments into something valuable.
But we should probably add some nuance here, right? It can't all be positive reframing. What about the alcohol? Good point. It's definitely complex. Alcohol came up a lot.
Yeah.
It lowers inhibitions,
Yeah.
which people sometimes like to help them loosen up. But it also, clearly increases risks. And sometimes it just led to encounters that were unsatisfying or worse.
Right.
Hedda summed it up really well again. She said, sometimes it goes well and other times it's shit. That ambiguity is key.
Okay. So pulling it all together, this deep dive really shows that the simple negative view of casual sex, especially one-night stands, is, well, too simple.
Way too simple.
It's this mix, this assemblage of the context, the place, the alcohol maybe, but critically, the stories we tell ourselves and others afterwards, That whole package creates the pleasure and the memory.
It's much more layered than the usual discourse allows for.
Yeah.
And it really raises a big question, doesn't it? How much do the stories we already know, the kinds of stories we're expected to tell in our culture, influence how we actually perceive and remember our own experiences?
Like, can we turn almost anything into a good story if the narrative framework is there?
Potentially. It makes you think about the power of those shared narratives.
Definitely. And that leaves us, and you, with this final thought to chew on. How do the narratives we hear, the ones we tell, the ones we maybe even create about ourselves, how do they actually shape our reality, our experiences, and our memories long, long after the moment itself is gone?